Number one, employers often tell us about the gut feeling when quizzed about why somebody didn't get a job or did get a job. So what is that gut feeling? It's about your intuition, it's about the employer's intuition about why you didn't seem to be the right person for the job. And it can be a range of reasons, and the ones we're going to talk about are coming up now. The second thing is likability. So this is that you haven't made a connection with that person or people in the room. Remember, they're going to be spending 8 hours a day with you, 5 days a week, most likely. They want to get to know you, and they want to feel like they can be with you, and it's going to work. You're going to be part of the team, and everything will be fine. This is what we call likability, and there are ways of establishing that, making that connection with the people in the room. Number three, behavioural questions. Now, in Australia, it's very common to be presented with, tell me about a situation where you had conflict with your manager, or tell me about a team you worked on that was a great success, or who was your most difficult client and what did you do about it. These are behavioural questions designed to see what you do in different situations, and also to let you talk so they can listen and make some judgments about who you are as a professional and as a person. You need some structure when you're responding to these, and one of the structures is the STAR response. So this is a situation, task, action, result. This provides a structure for you to explain what happened. And if you do this, your answers are succinct and they're clear. So think about how you answer behavioural questions. Number four, rambling. The beauty of the STAR approach is that it stops you from rambling, so you don't get stuck on the situation part of STAR and you're not talking for 10 minutes about the situation. You move through the example, explaining what happened and what you did. So don't ramble, stick to the point, answer their question. Number five, employers tell me that they want some theory underpinning your responses to behavioural questions as well. So, for example, teamwork. What makes a good team? Not just the example you've given of your team, but some theory behind that as well. Or how you handle conflict resolution. So if you're in a managerial position, you'll be expected to understand what the theories are on conflict resolution and how that's applied in a real situation. You still have to give an example of it happening in your work experience, but they do want some theory underpinning your response. Similarly, number six, with quality assurance and project management, they expect some theory behind that as well. So questions that revolve around those two things show that you're a professional and you have done some study in this area as well as just experienced it. Number seven, do you speak in deep technical terms? So what we're saying here is your examples, are they clear, but do they also use the language of your profession? Are you able to articulate as a professional would? You can't fool a professional peer. It's not possible. So you know yourself, if you're talking to somebody else who's done your job, it takes 30 seconds, a minute to assess their depth of knowledge on any subject matter related to the job. So don't try to fool a peer, so the interviewer, the hiring manager, your prospective boss, because you can't. So make sure that you can explain by example in deep technical terms what you have done in previous roles. Number eight, no demonstration that you understand the job or the company. So I'll give you an example. I was on an interview panel once for an administrative role, and we had two candidates. The first person came in, she had 20 years experience, highly qualified. She came 10 minutes late. So we offered her a drink, said have a seat, catch your breath. She apologized profusely and said, look, I'm sorry I'm late. I've applied for so many jobs in the last month. Can you tell me which one this is? So that's an extreme. That doesn't happen very often, but I'm trying to demonstrate that this candidate had no knowledge of it all of our workplace, what we did, what our business was, who the people were. Okay. The second person came in only with 3 or 4 years experience. We asked her, why have you applied for the job? And she said, well, I can see you need somebody to handle that extremely busy reception area you've got. She made light of it. I made a joke about how busy it was and how hectic it was out there. Then she proceeded to talk about a similar role she had had in another organisation. So she was very clear. She knew exactly what we did, what the business was. The first candidate wouldn't have known whether it was an education provider, a hospital, or maybe she would have, but I'm exaggerating there, but had no interest at all in the company or the role. So, number 9, your communication skills. If they're not up to scratch, they're not up to scratch. And for most professional roles, you will have to have very high level communication skills for dealing with your colleagues and external stakeholders as well. So if they're not up to scratch, do something about them and we can help you out with that. Number 10, cultural difference. Now, you're never going to get an employer saying this was the reason you didn't get a job, but it goes back to the gut feeling. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable with you because there's culturally jarring things occurring in the interview, now that can be many different things, and you'll get that feeling as well. If you haven't been in the country for very long, it does take some time to acclimatise, to get used to the way people interact, to speak to each other, the difference in the way people speak to a manager, for example, may be very different to what you have experienced in your first country. So those little things can contribute to that gut feeling issue, and that's cultural difference. That will come with time. The way to speed this process up is to immerse yourself in the culture, get out there, get paid work outside your profession, voluntary work, something where you're interacting with people as much as possible. And this will help with a long-term cultural fit and feeling like you can participate in a way that's comfortable for you. Number 11, no evidence of industry awareness. So what are we talking about here? You may know the job, but when the topic shifts to something that is happening in current affairs, you have no idea what's going on here in Australia. So for example, this could be if you're a telco engineer and you're not aware of the stage of the NBN rollout, the National Broadband Network, and some of the issues that are surrounding that. It might be if you're a renewable energies engineer, electrical engineer or mechanical engineer, and you're not aware of what's happening with solar and wind in Australia, what's happening in South Australia, what's happening with Tesla, Elon Musk, his contributions and relationship with the South Australian government. This might come up in conversation. If you're not aware what's going on, it shows that you're not professionally interested in what's happening in the country. So this is an issue. The way around this is just to do reading, get exposed to the news, what's happening on the news, talk to professional peers, attend seminars organised by your professional body or people from your profession. Number 12, overqualified. Now, sometimes people apply for jobs that are below what they had been doing in their first country. And although not always recommended, it's acceptable. The problem is if you get into the interview with a resume that has been toned down, and then you start talking about your high-level managerial experience, it's going to shock the interviewer. And they may think, well, this is not exactly what you've portrayed yourself on the CV. You sound like you're a bit overqualified for the role. Now, being overqualified is a major concern for an employer because, one, they might think you'll lose interest in the role, but most importantly, they think you may leave in a few months' time to get a job that pays twice as much, leaving them in the lurch, back at square one, having to find somebody else to fill that place, which is time consuming and expensive. So being overqualified is a major issue. Make sure you are addressing the role, but also reflecting what you have done, if that's relevant to the level of the role. If not, then talk about the role more so than your glorious experience overseas, if that's your choice. The last one, I haven't included this in the 12 because I don't think it's a real excuse, is the no local experience. So if you've had the interview and were unsuccessful, and the feedback you were given was that I'm sorry you don't have local experience, they're probably not being entirely honest with you. They did know this before you applied for the job. So generally, why would they devote an hour of their time if that was going to be a stumbling block? What's more likely is that they're using that as an excuse because the real reason may lead to confrontation and they want to avoid that. It could be something about communication skills. It could be they just didn't like you for some other reason. They're probably not going to say that in feedback, so they revert to, I'm sorry you don't have local experience. So if you're facing any of these issues, if you're getting interviews but failing, go to the website obpaustralia.com.au, click Enquire Now, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours to set up a free consultation to discuss your options. See you next time.